Good evening, it's Joyful Christian Hermit. I tried this video earlier today and somehow I didn't have it turned on. So I was talking away and it's a good thing I'm starting over, in other words, because I was talking away. I want to share, Sophia, a viewer, left a comment after, I think, the video before last. And Sophia means wisdom, and I think her comment has a lot of wisdom in it, but also showed me that I haven't been explaining things well or in keeping with what I'm discussing at the time that I have explained months ago in other videos. So people watching videos now don't have the full picture of, why I would be doing certain things or not doing other things. So I thought this is a good time to utilize this comment because a lot of the discussion that came to mind from the comments is really excellent um, for making decisions and of as we grow older or if we have an accident or infirm at a younger age when we have to make major changes. And then also, even though it's rare, it'll help explain more about arachnoiditis and just all of the different um, shifts and changes that somebody with a more rare kind of ailment must also go through as the body gets older or things happen to the body or will soon or are in the process of, such as this is a progressive ailment. And another reality is for those who are having to make any kind of decisions. It makes a difference if you have another person living with you or if you're a hermit. It makes a difference if you're a victim soul called to suffer or not. It makes a difference if you've been able to work and have retirement money saved up, or if you were low income all through and rearing children, for example, and then basically only had a lovely but modest inheritance and tried to invest that and did so successfully the first house, and this house will be too, but not as much as the island house, to try to build up for retirement. So there's a lot of angles to why I do what I do and what the next decision will be, and how God is giving clues and cues to me as I continue on trying to get a little bit more done on this house. But I had decided I would take the month of August to cast the nets and to work on this house, to sort of focus on working on it. Whereas before I had given up. I was very tired. I was sick all winter. And let's see, last winter, maybe in November, I got the urge to start working on trim, window trim in this room, and I painted this room last fall. So I was getting the urge to work again on the house. But then I got very, very ill. So that did that in. And then it was springtime, needed to rebuild, so I did gardening. So it then now it's the garden needs some work done on it, that's for sure. But I decided to go ahead and try to work on the house some. So it's just a matter of trying different things and to see what God wants. But so we it can always change, and but we can cast the nets, which is what I'm doing this month of August. and see how it works out. Just trying, see. And then, of course, I had the ER and the ICU and the hospitalization, and then also the couple of days, 2.5 days at rehab. So things happen, and situations come up in life. So I'm going to start out with what Sophia wrote in her comment. She's not familiar with the 9 S's. That reminded me that I've talked about the 9 S's, but months and months ago in videos, but I didn't recently. So someone like Sophia didn't know what are the 9 S's. And she wisely wondered. She says, I am wondering if one of them is surrender. Because I did explain that they are like an undergirding or a support, a platform for the rule of life, which is the gospel, to live the gospel. That can be everybody's rule of life. Hermits have a rule of life. And I discovered through St. Stephen of Murat, it's pronounced, I think, but Murat, St. Stephen of Murat, that he discovered that what was I going to say? I'm getting itches all over, like blood is coming out of the bottom of my feet. That's an arachnoiditis symptom. I'm having it right now. Oh my goodness. No, it just sort of feels strange, very strange, in fact. And I haven't had that symptom for quite a while. So what was I going to say? Oh, to have the rule of life be the gospel rule, to live the gospel. And it's the perfect rule of life to live the gospel. I discovered that in reading St. Stephen of Murat's biography. Then the 9 S's, after I was first hermit, after I had my vows, the very next morning, my spiritual father, who received my vows on behalf of God, my hermit vows, he said, from now on, remember, silence, solitude, and slowness. Live or function in these modes, silently, in solitude, and slowly. Well, I went home. I just loved that. I thought that's good. It's perfect for a hermit. But the Lord gave me 6 more S's. 9 is the number of fullness, of full gestation of a woman, a human. 9. It's a completion. So the Holy Spirit wanted 9 S's, 9 ways in which I would have as a platform for my gospel rule of life, that I would live it more fully, my gospel rule for my hermit life. So the 3 S's that the priest told me, he's deceased now, but silence, solitude, and slowness. Then the next S's for the 9 S's are selflessness. So surrender would come under selflessness. And I mean, it was the Holy Spirit that gave me these added S's, platform or undergirding of my gospel rule of life. So you could call it surrender, have that be one of your S's, surrender, because it's in essence of being selfless that we surrender. Dying to self is a selflessness, is a surrender. Then came suffering, because we all suffer. Suffering is a part of our rule of life of the gospel, love and suffering. So that's, I think, the fifth S. Then came stillness, being very still, still within and still without, to try to have an environment that is stilled, stilled. Then simplicity, I think that's the seventh one, simplicity, to live very simply, to try to think simply, not to get too complicated or complex. And then stability, to remain stable. And I was having trouble with that recently, of stability. I was sort of all over the place trying to figure things out until, God was reminding me, take a month, take August, and just do your see what you can accomplish, and listen to me. Cast your nets and listen. And God started giving me cues and clues on what God wanted of me. So in the next phase of my life, an undergirding. So that was stability. Stay calm, stay put in your mind, in your spirit. Don't jump to this or that too rapidly. That's the slowness part. But stability is staying put, of not trying to make too many changes. That was another reason. Just take your time. I mentioned to my daughter even December, maybe, see how I do, see what God wants still. And then serenity is the last S. And serenity is something that we just can't do on our own, but we can cooperate with God to engender serenity. Serenity is sort of like a hermit is, a cloud. There's the earth and the temporal and the tangible, and parishes and active ministries, and there's priests and lay people, or I call them the Christian faithful. I like that better than lay people. The Christian faithful, living their gospel rule of life and their missions, their assignments from God in active ways. Then there's hermits who are like a cloud that, we can see them. They're up above the earth. We don't really grasp or grab at them, or we can't, be there, but they're there. They're reminders that there's something more yet. And they're sort of ethereal away. A hermit vocation is, that's why I think put a big hold on the diocese hermits, because they're very much in the temporal, tangible, involved in parish activities, and so it's and known to people, and they wear habits so that they're seen and recognized. So, it sort of ruins some of the hiddenness, if not all their hiddenness. They're no longer hidden. Where did I didn't go anywhere today. Was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? I went to Home Depot, and I was hidden as a hermit. No one knew I was a hermit. Ezra at the customer service desk knows me and did the returns for me. God bless him. They were late, but he got the manager. And the manager did me the favor and took back the things that were late. And it was I didn't realize how much money it was. Oh, I'm so grateful, so thankful. So, but they didn't know I was a hermit. They just view me as, I hope, a nice little old lady who has bought a lot of stuff there to renovate her home over the past 6 years, over 6 years. So, see, that's, if I'd had a habit on, like, well, what are you and what's this? And then you're no longer hidden. You're no longer a solitary, really. You've got other people who know your inner. And but it's an anonymous sense. So, and it doesn't, you probably have forgotten most of the time. It isn't relevant based on what I usually talk about, which is whatever comes up in my spiritual life, including my uh, physiological life, my existence. The whole ball of wax, as my dad would say. So, those are the 9 S's, and serenity is something that God gives as a gift, but we can cooperate with it and strive in it, make optimum the circumstances and the situation of our existence in living the gospel rule of life that will bring serenity. So it's serenity is sort of in between also. It involves a lot of God, which all of these S's do. Everything involves God, but you see that the serenity is a little bit ethereal. It's a little bit mystical in a sense. It's not black and white as much as like suffering is, or suffering can get very spiritual too. Silence. There's either silence or there's not silence. You're either living in solitude and staying in solitude the bulk of the time. That was why I also objected to my daughter thought, oh, I'd put my things in storage or in their garage and keep it in my garage and have workmen in here without me here, have it empty so it'd be easier to finish and faster. It probably would be, maybe, I think. Or it seemed less daunting to other people not to have my books and things in here, or my bed and few items of furniture. But as a hermit, I did not want to live with them for a month in their townhome. It's not like here where I could close it off from other people, but I still wouldn't like it as a hermit unless I'm ill. I mean, more ill than I am. To the point where I'm terminal or something. That a lot of hermits, have had to have other people tend them toward the end of their lives. So, and that then they're even so when they're that ill, you're still so with God. Like, even though I was in ICU, I barely remember how there were lots of nurses. I remember the first day, in and out, doing things to me, and the next day, different things they were doing, and I think I was in there 4 days or 3.5 days. So, but I felt alone. Other than, my daughter would be there, but she would be over, and I was sort of in a shock bubble. But when you're preparing to die and you have some terminal illness, there can be people around, but you still feel very much alone with God at that point. You're very, very in touch with God when you're very ill. At least that's my experience when I've been very ill. So those are the 9 S's. And ask God, maybe He'd give you 7 P's or something, to help you live your gospel rule of life. If you even like that as your rule of life. It made sense to me when Stephen of Marat realized himself. He was, I think, in the 17th or 18th century France. How it came to him. Oh, the rule of life for his hermit life is to live the gospel. Yes, it's simple, but it's true. It's profoundly simple. So those are the 9 S's. Then, let's see, get back to it. Sophia says, and she tries to do surrender. So that's a selflessness. To surrender is a selflessness. So she also says in here, it seems like the nursing home, which may or may not be needed, is a great concern. I wish you could get that house done expediently. Do the parts you find most pleasant and what you can do without increasing your pain. God, I am sure, has given you, as he does all of us, those things from which we must suffer. I am not so sure he wants us to create our own suffering on his behalf. So all of these are very interesting and very good comments or thoughts to share. And so, yes, the nursing home is a great concern. I haven't explained enough about arachnoiditis. Arachnoiditis is my arachnoid membrane was slit or punctured in the 1987 surgery, leaving me with horrific pain all the time. So much so that I could no longer work, I can't sit for any length of time, and I can't stand for any length of time, especially in one spot. So my education career was gone with the amount of back surgery I'd had, and I had died in recovery. No school district was ever going to hire me again because I was too much of an insurance liability. Their insurance companies do not want them hiring people who are high liability risks. One push from a kid on a playground or tripping over something in the hall or a leg of a desk in the aisleways as you walk up and down, trying to keep the kids engaged in their English lessons and things. As an administrator, definitely not. Dean of students, doing night activities, sporting events, or whatever. Assistant principal, handling student and faculty issues. Stress and all, no. And sitting or standing, no. Or sitting when you're an administrator. Especially, I was a finalist for assistant vice principal of, as a vice principal of curriculum. So, that would have been a lot of study and sitting and developing curriculum for different styles of teaching and et cetera. Probably do in-services for teachers and a variety of work like that. But, so, no, I was out of my career, and just to stand in the classroom would have been, and I couldn't be, I don't know, from one day to the next, sometimes 1 hour to the next, if I'm going to be able to be up or not. So, and then I had those horrible headache pain sieges from that surgery in 1987 until the pump surgery 5 years ago this October. Somehow putting the tube in and disrupting, messing up the nerves in my spinal cord, caused me to have a lot of digestive issues right away. But I no longer had the horrific spinal headache pain sieges anymore. It was a miracle. It was a gift from God. I had more other issues, but which are awful. The gut issues are terrible. But that's also from arachnoiditis. The more I read more on it today, and it's definitely, for as long as I've had arachnoiditis, it progresses, and it mentions specifically in a 2024 and a 2025 study that it will cause the intestines to stop functioning. And that's what's happened. Especially the last 6 years, it's gotten worse and worse and worse. So I have to take all kinds of stuff now. And when they cease working, it would be just as well to get the colostomy as soon as possible, as God wills. We'll just have to find out. I still don't have an appointment. I'm going to call again. When are they going to get me in? Because I don't think they took the neurosurgeons. They said they never got it, but I can't believe his staff, and he's the top neurosurgeon of a three-state area. And his staff is so professional. So I don't think that they neglected to send the referral. I think someone thought, oh, we already have a referral for her. And that was at the end of October for my prolapsed rectum, which has healed, or at least it's no problem anymore. I'm not having a surgery on it. So I think they thought those were both the same or something. So got to get that straightened out. Anyway, arachnoiditis is a very unique beast. And neurologically, pain is all the time and very severe pain. I have for years, when I had little children when I first had it, I did not know what it was. All I knew, the surgeon deemed me permanently disabled from, how did he term it? Intractable pain, constant pain, intractable pain. Cannot stand more than 5 minutes or sit more than 5 minutes. Cannot be consistent. Does not know from day to day, etc., etc. So, unemployable. Can't be consistent. Even as a therapist, when I could lay on the sofa myself and the client could be in the chair, I couldn't do that because I can't consistently meet with people. I couldn't to even do my intern hours. So that doctorate had to go by the wayside when I was over half finished with the coursework. But we found out at least that wasn't going to work for me, that career. So that's part of the reason I don't have income. So yes, nursing home is a concern to me. And because arachnoiditis is progressive, and the only reason that I'm not fully bedridden now, or even years ago, say 12 years ago, or even 15 years ago, is I started gardening in the place back in the Midwest, the most extravagant gardens, loads of planting and tending and watering and things. So I was and I painted that whole house. I wanted to save money, rather buy some trees than pay the builder to paint it one color. So I was able to get my paint that I like and get and paint rooms different colors, which I wanted to do back then. I wanted to have more of a cottage effect, colorful and fun, but it was all done in very muted tones, but different hues, different colors. So it was fun. It was a fun house, and so it took me 7 weeks. I had to prime it, paint 2 coats, ceilings, everything, and all the trim. They had a trim specialist, or a trim carpenter come, and I had to wait. He did not want to work with me in there painting, so I had to put off. So it was more complicated, but I did that. Saved myself. It turned out $1,800 is all. They had told me initially it was going to save me like $3,000, but I still did it. It was exercise. All painting is such good exercise for me. Stretching and moving around and up and down and rolling and stretching the neck and the back to roll up overhead on using a long rod, and up and down ladders, building my legs and my trunk muscles. It was wonderful. Never in one place for long when you paint. So that then felt good, and I was building up and my muscles, and I did the same with gardening. And then I got to the island and had to move, had to sell because of the neighbor woman situation and her husband and adult son. I've mentioned those before. Had to sell the Midwest place. Ended up on the island, and I had been duped. It was a tear down, but it was cosmetically covered over. Barely. But it needed to be totally gutted. My inheritance was in it. My son had co-signed for me so I could buy it and then move trees out there. So I was planting trees there, and I had to gut it down to the studs. It needed new everything, including plumbing and electrical. And I learned to frame. A man helped me, a contractor who'd been in the business 40 years, and he was manager of a pro build there in the Seattle area. And he taught me everything I needed to know. And a retired plumber who worked at Lowe's, taught me everything I needed to know about plumbing. So, in fact, he said he had me at the journeyman level of plumbing. So all of that I didn't realize. I didn't know I had arachnoiditis. And yes, I would have pain sieges and I would collapse, be a couple of weeks, I'd get sick, and it would last a long time, which is all part of arachnoiditis. I didn't know why I would get a cold, turn into sinus infection into the lungs, strep throat, the whole works. Sick for 6 to 7 weeks. And plus the weather there, the rain and stuff, didn't realize would be, and having the roof leak and the walls, the wind and rain would come through the walls at the beginning. Oh my goodness. But I got that place all turned around in 5.5 years with a lot of grace from God, and God providing other people from the mainland to help me. But I was totally out of money. I had to borrow at the end. And my spiritual father sent me $12,000. I guess he wouldn't mind now. I just want you to know just how generous. It was money, he said, that over the years people had given him and would tell him, use this for a Catholic in need. And he wrote to me when he sent the check, he says, you are a Catholic in great need. And I was in trouble with that place. And if I didn't get that turned around, I was going to lose all of my parents' hard-earned money. That upset me more than anything, to think how hard they worked, and look how I got duped. But I didn't realize it was one of the best things ever to happen to me. I became a true hermit on that island. I won't go into all the ways, but definitely totally in exile, like John on Patmos. And I learned many skills. I had to be very active, up and down ladders, learned to construct even stairs, which are very technical to build. That's what I flew off of to get my head injury. And nearly died from that. Nearly fell off the pole barn roof painting it. Slid on a little drop of paint, didn't see it there. And I did the frontwards, backwards splits. I had never done any kind of splits in my life. And slid down that roof, there's a metal roof, to within a foot of the edge. And I'm telling you, angels stopped me. And that happened twice. It did. But not twice with the front and backward splits. And that laid me up for about 3 days. You can imagine. I think I was, how old would I have been there then? Was I 65 or 66 then. I was 67 when I got it finished and sold. So yeah, I had all kinds of things happen there. Nearly had sepsis from a splinter in my thumb that got infected. Not septic shock, but sepsis, different. But drove myself to the mainland to an ER in time, barely. And they just happened to have a hand surgeon there because he had to dig and dig to get that splinter out. It's down in the knuckle of my thumb, and put me immediately on an IV. At first says, I'm going to have to hospitalize you because you're just so infected. But no, God was gracious. I was able to go back, but I had to take it easy for a few days, a week I think it was, and be on some strong antibiotics. But so God was always helping me there, but taught me a lot about hermit life and trust in God, because I was a wreck there. I was so upset with what had happened and how I had risked my parents' hard-earned money like that. It wasn't my fault, but, well, you would think I would have known. But it felt right. I mean, the land was beautiful. The spot was gorgeous. It was quaint, 1904 farmhouse, but so much wrong with it that the bad inspector didn't say. But it all turned out so beautifully. And I made a lot of money on it. So I paid everyone back. I had kids. My daughter, who's here, knew young people up there, and put out in her Facebook or something. And so I had some teens from the mainland come, a couple of brothers and one of their friends come to help me. And I could paid them a kid's salary. But I told them if they stayed with it and would come, finish to the end, and they did. They hauled gravel and spread gravel on the drive. That was their last task there. That I would give them award money, a bonus after I got it sold. And I did. I told anyone who helped me and who was honest and just that I would pay them their fees, but if they would stay with me on it, that they would get a bonus. And they all did, a nice bonus, because I couldn't believe how that turned around. God did it. So it's, but I didn't know then until I got here that I have this arachnoiditis and that it's progressive, and that staying physically active can help prolong the paralysis that you'll have and the other neurological problems, bladder, intestines, paralysis, waist down, and other parts too, altering the brain, difficulty reading, just all kinds of things with arachnoiditis. It's neurological. So you pain everywhere in the body, everywhere. So and weird things happen too, strange things with arachnoiditis. It affects electronics and things around me, and it can turn on things. It turned on a sander in the middle of the night and sanded a groove in my floor out there. The sander was stuck, fortunately, instead of buzzing all over, but it was going in circles. And so I have to patch that out there. But yeah, so it's, arachnoiditis is very strange. And it's not typical because, so this is why I need to explain, because Sophia didn't understand, and I think other people didn't either, that it was down a little, to do the things that won't increase your pain. So doing this didn't increase my pain. It was what happened with the arachnoiditis in general progressing over time, and what the ER doctors did, probably the seizures, because my thoracic spine is so much worse now. So that did it to me. And the arachnoiditis in general. It just progresses. So it's coming to the point now where I really can't be doing lifting at all. Not even the grandson's coming tomorrow to help hold a long piece of trim that goes on top of the long stretch of windows in the kitchen. I just need extra hand and extra help. And anything that's too heavy, I just don't dare try to lift. That's why I had to hire the tiling done. But otherwise, it's good to be active and to keep working, like to continue painting. If my daughter has 3 bedrooms that are brown and dark and need painting, lightening up. Those are the only rooms, and her 2 bathrooms. I'm the lady to paint. I love painting, and it moves me around, and it feels good, and it helps release endorphins and dopamine. Plus physical exercise helps my intestines. The more active you can be, but at this point my intestines are toast. But it doesn't hurt them, and it doesn't hurt my back to do that. But it hurts. Standing hurts now. Even walking around, the thoracic is in agony. So it's not as fun to be doing it, but I need to keep active. The longer I can keep active, then I don't have to hire someone to come in and tend me. I won't be bedridden. And once you're bedridden, the arachnoiditis really gets going. So it's like anything. You grow weak. It's more depressing. Depression goes with arachnoiditis. I just read a statistic. It was, what would be the percentage? 1 in 8 suicides. Death by suicide. You don't die from arachnoiditis. It's always something else. But it takes you down. It reduces your body to bedridden and paralyzed. And you still have pain, though, even though you're paralyzed. So this is why I'm concerned about nursing home. Highly likely, I will be in a nursing home or need someone hired to come tend me, unless I die of something terminal like cancer that I would not have to have nursing home for a long time. But even the blood cancers I have, the latent blood cancer that I have, the oncologist, hematologist says that it's a blood cancer that I would likely have when it becomes active will be very slow, like 8 to 10 years before you die. Well, my dad had it, so he thinks I would probably get what he had. My mother was there taking care of him up until a couple of weeks before he passed. And they had a nurse there with their unit, who could come and check on him and stuff. So, no, I don't have that. And my parents had money. And my mother had she got long-term health insurance wisely. She used it because she was in a nursing facility for over a year. Or 11 months it was, 11 months. But I can't get that. I'm uninsurable for that because of my back. I tried years ago. And also tried again when I finally was able to get Medicare, which I have to pay out of pocket for because I didn't pay into Social Security. I paid into my state teacher's retirement fund. We had to have our retirement through that state fund. And that's the fund that is reduced because my husband at the time talked me into selling it off and using the money to pay off his car loan. What made our monthly output less. And he says, you don't have to worry. Something happens to me, you'll have my retirement. Well, no, not in the divorce. I didn't know he was planning to divorce me then. But he had it in mind quite a long time ahead of time, as it turns out. So I blew it. I didn't know I didn't know I would be disabled. I didn't know that disability was tied to my retirement. And so that's why I have such low income. It only has 2.5 years of teaching worth in it, $12,000 or something. But that's how I get my income every month. So I can't get Medicaid. I don't dare lose my income. So it's just different things. So this is part of what I have to deal with here. And it's okay, but it's part of what happens. So yes, I am concerned about nursing care. It's costly. I don't have the money for it. But with arachnoiditis, it's highly likely I will need nursing care. See, if I didn't have that, then it would be a different story. So that's why I worked hard, uh, getting this is my second house to work on, and this one, my daughter will sell it if I need a nursing home. It's true. I don't know for sure if I'll need a nursing home, but it's likely with someone with arachnoiditis to need a nursing care or home care. And I don't have a husband to do that for me. So, see, it's a different situation than some people have. This part, I'm already mentioned about, not increasing the pain. I like that idea. Do something fun. Do parts that won't hurt my back. Well, it's not going to hurt me to work. It's the pain. I mean, it'll hurt me to lift, but it's the amount of pain. And I'm at the point I can't take that much pain. I can't stand that long to do much work. So it's other factors. It's the arachnoiditis that is altering and causing a change for me. And this is interesting. I found this very good that Sophia wrote that no, we should not be creating our own suffering. We should not create our own suffering. I haven't talked about sideways crosses, but I'll talk about it in a video at some point. Sideways crosses. But we should not create our own suffering. God allows us suffering. So, and I don't think I said anything about creating my own suffering. But I'm called to suffer. I am a victim soul. And not many people are that, but that I was called by God to suffer and to cooperate with Him and to suffer with Him, because He still suffers with how our society is and how the church is. So, Mercy, sure, Lily, I gotta get her to the vet. Her ear, she's just scratching and scratching her ear. I think she has a bug in there or something. Come here, baby. She came over to Mommy to get her. Yes, I'm going to get her. I'm going to get you in, Mercy, to see what's wrong with your ear. You got something in your ear bothering you. Poor little girl. This last week she's been scratching it at night. So we're going to get you to the doctor. Might have a little mite or something down in that little ear. She was just scratching away again tonight. She came right over to me to massage it. Poor little thing. You're going to be okay, Mercy. I'm going to get you into the vet. See what's wrong. Poor thing. But when we're given suffering, we need to suffer it. And we can choose. God will give us options. And that's why in my vow of suffering, to offer whatever path, if God gives us two types of suffering, we can choose. If there's suffering in our situations, it's not that he gives it to us or he thrusts it upon us, but he allows suffering. So I've had situations in my life, well, such as this. It's a suffering now for me to be here. All the responsibility and the work. When my upper back is so bad, and the expense and everything of to have to hire people to do work. I don't have that kind of money. I need it for a nursing home. And true, if I don't have to go to a nursing home, that money can be there for Father Vincent or for good causes. But if I need it in this house, for example, my daughter will sell it if I need to have nursing care, and there'll be money, maybe for a year or two. And then what happens? We can't just up and kill ourselves. That's choosing a suffering. That's a sideways cross, is to do ourselves in. So, yeah. So it's suffering is an interesting topic, and I'm hoping that Sophia will leave more comments. I think we should discuss more about suffering and the situations that we get into, that there may be either option we have involves suffering. Then which do we take? Well, that depends on if we are victim souls and if we have made a vow of suffering, such as me, that if I'm facing choices, that I have said that I would take the path of greater suffering. But the further I get into this month of August and listening to God and having him point things out to me, the town home doesn't seem to be like a terrible thing to me now. So it's not such a big suffering. And staying here seems like it could be a suffering for somebody who has a lot of pain. Have a big place to take care of. So see, God's working on me. He's offering me options now. And it's a matter of casting the net and seeing what fish he's bringing up for me. Maybe it's too good for the little puppies. The little puppies will have, Mercy, how's your ear, honey? Is it this ear or is it this one? Is it this ear here? Is it that ear, honey? She's not feeling good tonight with her ear. Yeah. Anyway, so it's a suffering has variables to it. And we aren't always going to choose what is, in other people's view, a lesser suffering. It may seem worse to someone else than it does to us. But that shouldn't be our motive necessarily, because suffering is powerful and pain has power to it. Sometimes the suffering will be worth it because like losing the views and the light. But I'm realizing how many people have an opportunity to do something very loving and to make someone very, very happy with a house at the end of their life. Who is somebody who can't get a house because of the interest rates being high. So I'm able to do that through her inheritance and to let her have it soon. Because doing this work this month of August, I'm realizing my back was really messed up in the ER. I can't be up that long. I'd been up 3 hours before, gardening and things, before the ER. Worked a total of like 6 hours a day. Was not on this bed much. Now I'm on the bed a lot, up and down, taking more breakthrough pain med, plus I am in agony doing this work. But I'm withstanding it. I only took 2 breakthrough pain meds today, but I'm gutting through it. But it's very, very hard. It's a lot of suffering. So all the more I'm seeing, I'm going, and my daughter she called, checking, how are you feeling? What's happening? How are you doing? And she was starting to come up with other things I could do. Water, all the things. See, she forgets. When I tried getting in water years ago, if you make just the wrong slight movement, you get so relaxed in water that you really can't tell what movements you're making. It fine-tune movements with the spine. I would always end up in a pain siege the next day because I had tweaked the back some wrong way in the water. So I realized I cannot do things in the water. Swimming is out. Water aerobics, even treading water, is out. You move your spine in the wrong way with arachnoiditis, and you're in trouble. More pain and suffering than I can guarantee you it's worth. Same with like gym equipment, anything like that. Walking on sidewalks is out for me now. Too hard of impact for my thoracic spine. Let's see, I can walk in grass, but painting. So I think Sophia mentioned here you are talking about painting and working on the floors. It does seem ridiculous, the things I say when I look at it from a normal person's viewpoint, from a logical viewpoint. Mentions that your daughter's little single-story townhome, she mentions condo, but it's a townhome, a slight distinction. It has a unit right beside it, somebody right beside, through the wall. And you can't hear the TV, I guess. So that was just one of my paranoias flaring. Sounds like a lovely hermitage. Well, see, not really. I mentioned how it's dark, and that I can get depressed in darkness. I really thrive on light. It's my optimum. And the hard tile floors over concrete. That's a killer for me. But I can't even stand in one place here without having horrible pain. So I'm going to get these rubber mats, these stress fatigue mats. I saw Lowe's has even a bigger one for the same price as Home Depot's smaller one, if I get the kind with the little holes, the black ones. But a Costco sells these padded mats. I might just get some of those and put them places where I would be walking. Make a trail out of the bedroom with them, down the hall, and into the family or the great room or whatever it's called, and have one by the kitchen sink and one by the stove. Or move the one from the sink to the stove. Work it out that way. But that's a small expense. Then in the bedrooms, there's old carpet. The reason it's dark too. Everything is dark. The bedrooms are brown, and the rest of the place has been painted light, except the bathrooms and the bathrooms. I don't think they're dark. Oh, I guess they are sort of dark. But the bedrooms are dark, and the carpet's a dark brown. So, and it's old, and I have allergy issues. So those I need to get out. But I realized I have some Dury rugs, some very thin, but they're white. Just put some light things, put light sheets down. Or take the carpet out and just have the raw concrete and paint it. Paint it light. And it'll uh, lighten up our space, make it seem much lighter. So, and since I can paint, yes, standing gets me, but all that stretching is really good for me. And a daughter, I said, could I maybe even get paid a little? Come back and do the gardening here and the mowing. Oh, yes, yes, of course. She doesn't have time to do it, but that's something, because I told her, I said, that's something I can do. I'm walking on grass with earth underneath and bending and stretching and standing and always moving. That's my optimum, other than bed. But bed is going to lead to needing nursing care sooner. And other than the arachnoiditis, I'm not really near death in anything. It's not like I have a bad heart or would have high blood pressure, to have a stroke or things like that. And my family tends to live long. So nursing home is a concern, to have the money for it. Because I don't want my children, this daughter, the one daughter who would offer right away, doesn't have the money. A year's worth, but you can get Alzheimer's or dementia and be in a place for 6 or 7 years. Not even know where you are, but someone's paying. I just met a man at Lowe's, I think I mentioned it, $8,000 a month his grandma's in a place. She has dementia. So it's costly. And with arachnoiditis, it's either you die of something else or you need care because you're going to be bedridden at some point. And I'm getting to that point where I can't handle the extreme pain of the upper spine. So yes, it says the other day you already said you want to put in new floors and paint the place. I get the floors so you'll be comfortable. Well, it was really just to lighten it, because putting in LVP isn't going to cushion much over the tile. I won't ever be comfortable there. I won't be comfortable anywhere. Here is better, this type of floor, but it's still now agony, worse than I've ever had. So it's just, as my dad would also say, a crapshoot. Just throw the dice and whatever is going to be. But yes, because painting things and doing flooring, I'd be up and down or be leaning over, putting in the underlayment in this room. I could go a lot longer because I wasn't standing up. I'm bending so my thoracic spine isn't getting any pressure on it. So I can go around like Quasimodo of the Hunchback of Notre Dame. And that's my best position, except it'll get my lumbar if I do it too much. So I have to just do it in short bits. But still, the thoracic spine isn't so painful then. So yes, see, I needed to explain all these things. Arachnoiditis makes a huge difference in understanding my psycho-wacko decisions in life and what I think about doing. It says here, let's see. It could take a very long time to paint. Well, I've had to move like 18 or 19 times. This will probably be the 20th or the 21st. I've always painted every place, so it won't take me long to paint. I will like doing that. But the flooring just depends. That would take me a little longer. but not too bad with LVP. But I'm thinking more just, or maybe she'll be interested in just doing some one of these real low nap type light carpets. But they're expensive there, and this is the other thing that gets me, is that all the big box stores and all the flooring places, their carpet layers and measurers don't measure correctly. They do what's easiest to not have to do seams for themselves, but they also do what's going to have the biggest scraps left over and sell the most carpet. I tested it out when I was on the island. My daughter and I ended up carpeting the bedrooms there and a hallway and the closets. I got the little kicker, I got the knee kicker, I got the seamer, the seam tape, and the seam glue. And I rented the big long stretch bars. And we carpeted and we did a great job. You never could even see the seams. And had very little carpet left. Because it has to be laid a certain way, not just to avoid doing seams. You have to be able to walk into the room a certain direction with the nap going a certain way, especially if there's a window that you're facing in the room. There's a trick to this. There's a technique to it. And the carpet layers, the carpet measurers, had twice the carpet because they didn't want to do the seams. But they also, a lot of these workers have houses they're flipping on the side, at least in Washington State, in the Seattle area. That was the case. So they take away the carpet that's left over. So and then they want to sell more too. And they charge by the square foot, not by how long it's going to take them to do the install. So the more carpet they sell, the higher is the quote-unquote install price. So it's a racket. So if they're going to pull that here, I would just do LVP instead and then put area rugs down, or these white Dury rugs I have that I've had for 35 years now. You just wash them. They're great. They don't cushion, but I'll have those rubber things to stand on. So that's what I would plan for the floors. And I don't think a week or so putting in flooring is that long. I look at time differently though. That's another thing. With my slowness, I look at things differently. That I would rather space something out and have variety in the day because I have to. I can't just work a 6 or 8 hour day. I have to be in bed every half hour or so, giving the back a break. But if I had the money, or if my daughter was going to pay, I know a guy who does LVP, and we did it together. I stood and would take the pieces, I'd hand them the pieces in the order that they needed to be, and I would do all the cuts. I have a little LVP cutter, and I have my table saw to do more lengthwise cuts. So, but the LVP needs to be go in a certain order. You don't want the same pattern. They usually have 6 to 8 patterns in a box. And you don't want to have the same pattern board after board. You want to have a variety. Interspersed. So I handed it to the man to make sure it would be in an order, and then just keep rotating the styles. But who knows, I may not do it. I mean, God may come in with something else. But I'm looking forward to it, actually. The handwriting is on the wall, like with Nebuchadnezzar, with me. I'm starting to see. In fact, this morning, I thought I ought to just do it now. in September or even August now. Well, they're gone, but it was like I've had it. I woke up in such pain, but then I had to remind myself I often wake up with such pain. So just stable. Stay stable. That's the eighth S. Maybe we should move it up closer to the beginning. Let's see. What else? Oh, none of us know what is going to happen, and I fully understand hoping for the best and planning for the worst. But enhancing our soul, I think, is having faith that God will look after us one way or the other, and having faith that He will look after us. I know you want to do everything yourself in the monastic slow way. Well, it's not monastic way. It's just one of my 9 S's for my hermit life. Those are things those were the first 3 words that my spiritual father told me. So the monastics aren't necessarily slow. I don't know. I mean, I think they're quiet, tend to be quiet, stable, have some of the same qualities as a hermit, but I don't think that they know about the 9 S's. That's just something that God gave this hermit. But I think they're good for anyone because we've become unusually fast. So if I would hire and spend money that I may need for the nursing home and hire someone to do the LVP flooring in this tiny little place, and it would just be in the 3 bedrooms. She has tile everywhere else. Then what? So it takes 3 weeks to do a week for each bedroom or something, off taking time out for bed rests. What then? I still have to have something physical to try to keep the arachnoiditis from progressing. Or I'm going to be paying money for someone to tend me even sooner when I become bedridden. See the dilemma I'm in. So the slowness and doing things myself is not just saving some money. It's keeping something for my body to do that I can do, because that's a bend over thing. Even though I can't do it, 6 hours or anything, or even 2, but a half hour at a time, sure. Or an hour. I suppose it was maybe 45 minutes or, well, probably a half hour per sheet of this underlayment. And I did 2 sheets a day. But I had the room done in 3.5 days. I finished up a little section and it wasn't even a half day. It took me about maybe a half hour to finish up a little narrow strip. But see, what difference does it make if it took 3 days, or if I'd hired somebody to come and do this? They'd probably charge $400 or $500, and because I screw them all in extra too, and do it in 1 day. But to me, in my hermit life, but now if I were a working person, or if I were like my neighbor and really bothered by things not being done and done now. She doesn't like things out of place or out of order, but she has loads of things. But that's why they spent like $300,000 when they moved in to have contractor come and do everything. And it cost them a lot. And now they have some sprinkler issues that are going to cost $3,000, and they want some weed and feed spread or something to get rid of some weeds and get better sprinklers set up. and that's going to cost them $3,000, and the money's too low because they spent all their money. But they don't like to do things. They could do them, but they don't. So you either have to have a lot of money, and they work so they have retirement, so they don't have to worry about their end of life care. They have retirement money they can use. I don't see. So that's why I realized how crucial these comments are, because I haven't been explaining things. And my weird little life is just weird enough that it defies logic. So normally, yes, and if I had the money, oh yeah, why not treat myself? But is it really treating myself? No, it's really better if I get the exercise. I can't ride a bike. I can't, there's just, you can name probably anything that you would consider. And I could say, no, I can't do that. The back is very tricky. Arachnoiditis is tricky. It doesn't affect just the spine, but that's the locus of it, is in my lumbar in my case. So, and the thing too, I really like that about, yes, we are to have faith that God will take care of us, but God also expects us to be prudent and to do what we can to help ourselves. So in my case, knowing that arachnoiditis is a very high likelihood of being bedridden before you die, you don't die from it. So I could be in need of care, someone helping me for a long time. But fortunately, since I've been through these horrific experiences by myself, like on the island, so sick at times, or injured, or been to the ER or whatever, pain sieges and the whole works. I learned to suffer alone, and I learned to manage on my own. I learned that it wasn't the end of the world if I couldn't eat for several days, because I didn't have the energy to fix anything. So, and here though, the neighbor would bring food over when I could no longer fix food last winter. But I would have been okay. Otherwise, see, that's faith in God, to know that we will be okay regardless. Even if we die, we'll be more than okay then. As long as we love God and place our trust in Him. But we cannot expect God to provide for us when we're not willing to be prudent and to take precautions ourselves. He might, but we don't know. He may also think, wow, this old lady needs to be taught a lesson. She's throwing in the towel. She's not even going to do what helps build her up for her arachnoiditis now. She's being lazy, maybe he'll think, and not doing what she can do and do well, because she doesn't want it to be slow anymore. And maybe he would decide no. No, he tends to, even with this decision, he's turning me around by showing me different aspects of the situation, and of giving me enough pain and enough exhaustion, and recognizing that my spine got ruined at this last hospital situation. Probably the Narcan that caused me seizures is my guess, or being transferred to another gurney, or to a bed or something. I don't ever remember any of that. But my physical therapist has a doctor friend, and he says they can get pretty rough. They're rushing, they're trying to save someone, and if they didn't know I had spine issues or arachnoiditis. So he said they can literally just flop you practically. Grab upper under the arms and somebody else the legs and toss you over to the next gurney. And maybe something like that happened to my thoracic spine. So that's something I have to deal with now, and it's made a big difference in what I can handle. And I'm seeing it, and I'm realizing I don't want to have to do all this anymore. It went with the pain so bad. And I don't want to take the breakthrough pain meds if I can help it, because it doesn't help my intestines any, but it's not the problem. I know that now so much. And I just need to get a doctor to read and see what it is. But I don't think there's any tests that they can do to check for that in my intestines. But so yes, to have faith in God, but at the same time, do what we are able to do. God loves a cheerful giver, and do what we can do, what we can give to help the situation. And if I don't have to have the money, I mean, if my daughter doesn't have to sell this for a nursing home, great. She's got a lovely home that she can have until she's old and wants to downsize or has to downsize. We can look at it as a want to or a has to or gets to downsize, gets to have freedom more than before, gets to not have to work as hard, retire a little bit, but find other things like come back to do the gardening here because I need the exercise, or I'll need nursing help sooner. Oh, it's a cause and effect thing with me. And it's sad. It's sad that my life is so regulated by pain, but it is. Okay, this is important though, because she says, you know, I know you want to do everything yourself in a monastic, slow way. Oh, I want to make sure this is still on. Yes, it is. Yes, and it's going to be a long one, I realize. Um, um, but wondering, but consider surrendering to the level of pain you have now and not risk increasing it or wearing yourself out, or wearing your body down even further. Yes, that's what I am considering now. I'm realizing that's why I'm not lifting things. I'm not, I don't really want to keep on doing this, but it's a fine line now. If I can get the more expensive things done, that would be better. I don't want my daughter throwing her money away either on things that I can do easily, and it's not killing me to do it. It's just not as much fun because of the pain. But if I can get it down to the point where it's things that somebody's not going to charge a couple $1,000 to do the little kitchen backsplash or something, $2,000 is just under my monthly income before taxes and insurances are out. So I view money differently too. That's a lot of money. If I had that, I could send to Father Vincent, and it would be loads of money in Nigeria. So I view money differently, and I'm willing to sacrifice and to surrender a little longer to some pain, but not making it worse. What I'm doing is not making it worse, my body worse, but the pain's worse, if that makes sense. See, the pain is neurologic. It's nerve pain. But it doesn't mean that I'm making my back worse. If I were to lift something too heavy, all that pressure on my thoracic spine would make it worse, coming down against my fusion, see? And maybe I did too much of that in the past on the island. Maybe that's why I needed the big surgery when I got here. I don't know. I didn't ask. I probably should, although it's too late now. But I'm being very careful with my back not to lift. That's the main thing. Not to turn in, not to put myself in positions where I wouldn't feel like swimming. You wouldn't get me in a pool because it's too easy to make a turn and not feel it in the comfort and flotation of the water, but your body has still made the turn and has tweaked the spine, the damaged spine, the neurologically arachnoiditis damaged spine. So that's why just even what I do is not what people would usually think for a back to do. Walking on sidewalks is good for backs, supposedly, but not mine, not with the arachnoiditis. Let's see what else. This was, and I like this. Time of life with your study and edit and writing and growing a prayerful relationship with our Lord. Yes, that's what I want now. That's what I want more than this other. And I'm willing to decline, but that's why I don't want to spend extra money or have my daughter spend it, and why I think how lovely to let her have the house ASAP, as soon as possible, so she can enjoy it for a while in case we do have to sell it for nursing home care. But I don't know what happens. I can't take out my retirement. It's only $12,000 anyway. It'd be about a month's worth or a month and a half of a nursing home. And it could be that God has it already planned out that I'm going to die suddenly or within a couple of weeks. And then my daughter wants to tend me, if it's going to be even 3 months or something. She'd have people come in, and then she'd be here at night and probably forego clinics at that time when she's gone more longer, or maybe not, I don't know, but she would have me here, which would be lovely. I'd love to die looking out at the view if I can still see. God may have that in the works for me. Dementia or something that it won't even matter where I am to me, and it shouldn't. It shouldn't anyway. So, but my daughter has these ideas of wanting to do something nice, and I have this growing idea of how fortunate it is for me to be able to do something really, really loving for somebody who will really, really appreciate it. And it won't matter to me, I realize. I can lighten up that place. I would hire someone to do the framing of a bigger window. If it ends up that would bring in a lot more light into the bedroom there. And if not, I can just put up my bed out in the great room by the patio door. So, could do that. So, and I agree, that's what I want to do. I want to do the writing and see if I can read, or I can at least take notes and share. I want to do better videos. Although I think these topics are important, because everybody's going to have situations with whatever illnesses they have or ailments that the rest of us won't understand. I think dialogue is excellent so that we can understand others. But every single comment and question or suggestion in this comment has been right on excellent. I just needed to explain my circumstance, and which I hadn't done. So that was good for me to know when I do a video, make sure people know the background. Because otherwise, what I say or what anyone would say might seem very, very odd. Or even, like, well, why hasn't she thought of these other things? So I'd left a big portion out that would then make sense of it all. Um, and definitely, we don't seek. We do not make our own suffering. However, until I started to see advantages in the townhome, it is the path of greater suffering for me. If this hadn't happened to me with the ER and things, I would have been fine staying here. I wouldn't have had such killer back pain. But I wasn't ever going to stay here long anyway. Just finish it, sell it, and downscale was my plan. And have the equity money then invested or in some kind of a CD or something, or a long-term, whatever they are, where they earn a steady rate of income but aren't at risk like stocks are, for my potential nursing home, or donations money, or inheritance money for my kids, the ones that are in the family or have me in their life. So, it's all okay. It's good to try to do something to increase, like the servant, that Jesus gave, or the master gave a talent, 1 talent to one, 3 to another, and 5 to another. And he was most pleased with the one that had 5, who really doubled it, I think. Worked hard and figured out, used his brains and his ingenuity to make interest on that. And the other person, I think, made a 1.5 gain. The other one just buried it. Didn't make any gain at all, but didn't lose it. But the master wasn't pleased with that person. So God does expect us to do what we can. And I got this house before I even knew I had to have a surgery, or that I had the arachnoiditis that's progressive. So God allowed me to get this house, or he would have worked it out, that I would have known that what it is that I've had all these years. And I felt a tremendous peace about this house. It's been tremendously peaceful. And it is going to bring money when it does sell, either if it's needed for my nursing home or for the daughter. She's going to have a nice little bit of income when she eventually sells it. So it's all a win-win, I think. When we're in God's will, we can look at it from all angles, and it's all good. It all works out. There's benefit to everything then. But I cannot continue on doing this to my back. It's just not worth it. It's not harming the back. It's just too much pain for my body and my mind. Basically. It's too much pain. Okay, Mercy, I'm going to get you to bed or take you out, honey. Let's see what else. Sophia says, how terrible she feels that she's stepped way out of bounds in this note, and know that your advice to me would be far more valuable than mine could be to you. No, this was excellent because it helped me sort through everything. There's a wonderful good in being able to solidify and to know ourselves why we do the way we do. And a good reminder to not create our own suffering. Because sometimes I think the way I talk, it practically seems like I'm advocating for that. So this is all good, all positive, all very, very helpful to me and hopeful to everyone, because many will have these situations and everything would be a direct hit of a wonderful, positive way forward. With me, I had to explain the arachnoiditis because that makes more sense of my oddity, quote unquote. But even me, I'm tired of the slowness. I admit it. Um, but I'm just tired. It's not just of slowness. I'm tired of everything. Um, but I do think I'm still here for some reason beyond just getting my affairs in order, but that's one of the reasons. God was so kind, let me have a chance to get my trust updated and still have to call them in and get a few more details to them. But I want to try to do better videos and to do more writing and reading. I just read something of Venerable Christina of Mirabilis, and I have a pamphlet on her, so I read a little excerpt today about that. Don't remember, but I enjoyed it. I at least remember her name, and that I had the pamphlet on her, a little booklet. Um, so it's so reading will be okay. It'll be difficult to not remember much what I read or comprehend, but at the moment I do. So what difference does it make? It teaches me present moment existence. And we don't have to remember every little thing. Why? In a way, reading is a very intimate, present moment activity with ourselves and the author over subject matter that we both have interest in. And God does it all for us. God does it all. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. Yeah, she felt she stepped out of bounds. No. Not at all. These comments are excellent, and the wisdom in it too. Oh, on that note, please don't let that 87-year-old woman go up on a ladder in your home. That is one dizzy spell away from a lawsuit. See, and there again, I make these comments that she would need to be up on a ladder. Well, that's because she's the tiniest little lady I've ever seen. Maybe she's 4'8" at most. But as I said, she would need a ladder. I didn't say I would put her on it. No. Instead, I had my tall neighbor woman come over to help hold that tape measure. But it was a fun thought, thinking of this little lady, and she would do it though. She would get up on that ladder. I think she would. Well, maybe not. Maybe she wouldn't, but she would be game to try, I think. She texted me and said she wants to come help do more work. So it's hard to think of something that she could do. But holding Trim in place for me won't, because I don't want her on a ladder. But something like that's very practical to think about, though. You don't dare want to have anybody getting injured at your home. And it seems like it was in the spring that I had to come down on something regarding that. Somebody wanting to help me. And I think it might have been her. It was too risky at her age. And so I'll find something, because there's always things to do here. Oh, yes. I mentioned to her, help me vacuum my books, the edges, because they're dusty, and box them up, because I want to paint the shelves in there. And I am going to paint them a darker shade, but still going to paint them, because the oak wood finish does not match my LVP And I don't want to take the time to strip those oak bookcases. That would take me a year to do. It's very tedious stripping furniture, and that is, you can't take it down or move it around to get to different angles of it. So it's all built in. So, okay, well, thank you, Sophia. Even the last bit of advice is wisdom that we maybe don't think about with people offering to help in our homes. That they get injured, and, you know, there goes, there would go my insurance, and I'd probably have to pay extra out of pocket, and my nursing home money would be gone. So what I have in the house would be gone. So um, yeah, it's it's good to share with people so that all these angles come out, so that we don't do something like that, like have the woman get up on a ladder. Yes, she would need to if she were going to do that, because she's so short. But no, you don't want to have her do it or ask her to do it. So, um, communicating, discussing, talking over situations is with another Christian is a wonderful gift, a blessing. Thank you, thank you. And I appreciate all of you who leave comments and suggestions in your comments, because they're all good. I find them all good. It's been a long time that maybe it's been a year since somebody had left something that I had to even block. It got very ugly and contentious, arguing, I think, about God's divinity and things. So, in Jesus, and way into New Age. So I had to block the person from leaving more of those kinds of comments. But otherwise, I think it's um, wonderful to have an exchange and an opportunity to get input from other people who are praying. She says she prays for me so much. I so appreciate it. I need the prayers. That's why things are working out. I had a week or 2 weeks at least, maybe three, probably 3 weeks of a lot of consternation over. And before that, I had a couple of weeks of downright paranoia, of wondering, what's going on, why can't you just wait till I'm dead and get the house? Turns out I don't need or want all this. And it might happen even before it's finished. We'll wait and see how each day goes. I'm giving the month of August, casting the nets. So God bless His real presence in us, and God's presence is in us and in you. All the help you've given me. I'm so grateful to you all. I love you all, and I also pray for you. I'm offering these tasks, this month of August tasks, as prayer for you, including, uh, uh, oh my goodness, I can't think, Francie Ray, her daughter Katie needs prayer, and Father Vincent's sister still needs prayer. And he needs prayer because he might be getting a couple of parishes, a week at each parish, back and forth, and Lagos coming up at the end of next month. So he would love that. So please pray for Father Vincent to be rewarded with something he would truly enjoy. And he's making the most and doing a beautiful job where he is now. But I think he's probably ready to, he'd love to be around families and young people, and be a parish priest again. So I'm praying that it'll all work out for him. Thank you for all your prayers.